Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the likes and subscribe to the channel if you are new around. So remember, if we hit 8,000 subscribers before the end of the month, there will be a giveaway. So please make sure you subscribe if you are new around here. And let's dive into today's video. A little over 2 weeks into the transfer market, and not a lot's been going on, but we've had quite a lot of developments in regards to Chelsea's search for a centre forward this month. And in one player in particular, Sporting Lisbon's Viktor Gyokeres this morning, Tuesday morning, 16th of January, reports emanating out of Portugal from Record saying that Chelsea have offered 85 million euros for Viktor Gyokeres, which was turned down by Sporting. Apparently, the proposal included a fixed 80 million euros plus 5 million euros in add-ons. But the release clause for the 25-year-old, obviously, who joined in the summer from Coventry in the Championship, is 100 million euros. Now, Record can be accurate sometimes. Other times, they just put shit out there for clicks, like a lot of papers do. And this subsequently has been denied by multiple sources. Ben Jacobs, Fabrizio Romano. Chelsea have definitely had interest in Gyokeres. He's definitely a player that's been scouted 100%. But it has been confirmed that Gyokeres, Chelsea have not put any bid in for the player, as confirmed by multiple sources. Let's just bring this up on the screen now. So, Chelsea have not submitted a bid for Viktor Gyokeres despite recent reports. Gyokeres having a fantastic season at Sporting and scouted by many top clubs, but no negotiations taking place now. As I said, release clause 100 million euros, 88 million pounds, which seems like an utter madness for a player that's got 6 months under his belt in a European league. This is a guy that was playing in the Championship for Coventry City last season. He was probably too good for that level, but this is a guy that's had 6 months of football in European leagues, and suddenly Chelsea might think it's a good idea to spend 100 million euros on this guy, when, let's be brutally honest, it really doesn't move the needle. I'm not saying that Gyokeres' numbers aren't good this season. They are good this season. In terms of, making the step up from the Championship to the Portuguese league, that is a step up. And he's done very, very well for his first 6 months. In all comps, he's got 20 goals and 10 assists in 24 appearances, 11 goals and 7 assists in 16 Portuguese league appearances, and of course 3 goals and an assist in 5 Europa League appearances. So look, 30 GNA in 24 games in all competitions. Look, those are very, very impressive numbers. No doubt about it. But my major concern in regards to Viktor Gyokeres is several things. One, it's always a bad idea to look to sign a player based on a good 6 months. It's the same as signing someone based off a good World Cup or a good Euros. Let's be perfectly honest here. Anyone can put together a good 6 months. Anyone can put together a good season or a good tournament. The real test is, can you put those things? Can you put multiple seasons together? Can you put 2 together? Can you put 3 together? I always use Marcus Rashford as an example. People were gassing him up last season because of all those goals that he scored. The reality is that was a one-off and an anomaly for Rashford. He's not that guy. He's a purple patch merchant. I'm not saying that Viktor Gyokeres is exactly the same, but it is funny how, people's self-persuasion is beyond belief at times. People will exclude, previous 6 years of Gyokeres' career, and then they'll look at a sample size of 6 months because it suits their agenda better. This player, for the money being spent, in my opinion, is an equivalent risk level of signing Nicholas Jackson, yet you're paying 3 times as much money potentially for this centre forward. Not only to mention, right, that this story doesn't really add up either. If Chelsea aren't prepared to spend 120 million euros on Victor Osimhen, why would they be prepared to spend 100 million euros on Viktor Gyokeres? If you're going to spend 100 million euros on a striker, you sign Ivan Toney, you sign Victor, or you pay maybe 20 million euros more, and you go and sign Victor Osimhen, which is the obvious thing to do. It just sounds like that not very much thought is being put into these things. If Chelsea are going to sign an elite striker, there needs to be someone that's ready to come in and hit the ground running right now. And Gyokeres is having a very good 6 months at Sporting Lisbon, but 6 months in the Portuguese league is not enough to me to suggest that, we should be parting with 100 million euros and this guy is the guy to spearhead our attack. Not only would that put an end to any chance whatsoever of signing a Victor Osimhen or an Ivan Toney, this would be the signing. It would be Gyokeres, then it would be Nicholas Jackson rotating, and it would be Christopher Nkunku as an option there, and Amanda Broja would probably leave. We're talking about spending big money on a centre forward. There are better options out there than Viktor Gyokeres. Now, I'm not shitting on him. Look, he could go on to become a good player, but he needs more time in the Portuguese league. He probably needs another step up from there afterwards. Yes, he's having a good season, but from a Chelsea level, let's just think about this logically. In how does this possibly make any sense whatsoever? It just doesn't. There's no logical thinking behind it at all. I'm struggling to understand what the positives of this would be. It seems like an impulse buy, a rash buy. Nothing that seems to be, have any logical thinking behind it. But as I said, if a club are unwilling to pay money for Osimhen, why would they do it for Gyokeres? Yes, we like doing dumb things. Of course we do at Chelsea, but the story's not adding up. The story isn't adding up at all. And look, people won't have watched a lot of Viktor Gyokeres, and that's to be expected. But I don't think he's not worth the money in my opinion right now. It's an interesting one, isn't it? It's a no for me. Like, the risk reward ratio is alarmingly high. You don't spend that money unless it's on a top class player. And it's kind of as simple as that for me. In terms of other strikers, you're looking at it. I spoke about it the other day. Benzema, Firmino on loan, linked with John Duran, a 20-year-old who was in the MLS last January at Aston Villa. I'm just looking at the sort of the names that Chelsea are linked with for this window, and it just seems that we are massively lost as to what we are trying to do in a centre forward position. As I said, a move for Benzema like's got the likes of Pato, Falcao, Higuain, Aubameyang sort of vibes written all over it. Honestly, think like these short-term fixes in January are so difficult to get right. And it's why more often than not they fail. You only have to look at Man United, who have tried it over the last couple of years. Igalo, Weghorst. I know we would perhaps be going for a slightly higher caliber of player than those two, but in terms of getting maximum impact from a 6-month signing in January, it's very, very difficult to do. We jumped at the availability of João Felix last season. Everyone thought it was going to be great, and it really wasn't. It turned out in the end to be a complete waste of money, in my opinion. That's why, for me, I know it might sound mad, and I know we need a forward, but I'd almost rather wait until the summer, because for me, we're not going to be able to get the two targets that we want. Our main target that we want, for the centre forward position in January. It just isn't going to happen. That's the reality of the situation. It's too much money. It's too difficult a deal to get done. So we then left in a situation with, right, do we try and bring in an experienced striker on loan for 6 months to help cover us and get us as high at the table as we can? Or do we just leave it and go with what we've got? Because for me personally, I believe what we've got in terms of Nkunku, Jackson, Broja to a lesser extent, is enough to get us into Europa League football next season. I honestly don't believe signing a Benzema or a Firmino or a Gyokeres, for example, makes the difference between us finishing in Europa League and us finishing in Champions League. This squad's good enough to finish in the top 6, in my opinion, as it is right now. And then we reassess in the summer. I don't want to see us do impulse buys or impulse loan deals which haven't got any thinking behind them, and end up doing more harm than good at the end of the day. It's the money for Gyokeres would just be ridiculous. Again, and that would be the striker. You wouldn't spend 100 million euros on a centre forward and then go and sign an Ivan Toney or a Viktor Osimhen. So that would literally put pay to any of those guys coming in the summer, and Gyokeres would be that main guy. And he just isn't ready for it. He's just not ready for it. And another thing as well, if Gyokeres was that guy, why didn't we sign him for £20 million 6 months ago? Why did we not do that? Why did we wait? Why have we waited potentially 6 months to then spend 100 million euros on a guy? If we were generally interested in Gyokeres, we could have just paid 20 million quid for him in the summer when he was available from Coventry last year of his contract. But instead, we now seem to think, right, well, he's had 6 good months at Sporting, so that means we now must be interested in him. I personally don't understand that. I know he's a good goal scorer. He obviously scores goals for sure. There's no doubt about it. But it very much screams to me like a bit of a hot patch, a bit of a purple patch. And we need a far bigger sample size on Gyokeres before we can draw any conclusive conclusions on him. So I'm glad that this news isn't true. It's obviously true that Chelsea have looked at him, but yeah, I think we can do better. And I think we need to see a lot more from Viktor Gyokeres before we even consider about parting with any money for him whatsoever. But yeah, guys, that's just my thoughts on Gyokeres, a bit on the striker situation. As always, smash the like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll catch you again in another one soon. Up the Chelsea, and peace out, people.